This is 7-3, factoring x squared plus bx plus c. In order to understand factoring, you have to understand something. If I said to you, just don't look at what's here right now, just if I said to you, give me a number that has a sum of 7 and a product of 12. Hopefully you'd be able to think of the numbers, or give me numbers, I should have said. Hopefully you could think of the numbers 3 and 4. If I say, give me a product that has a sum of 6 and a product of 8. Sum of 6 and a product of 8. Those numbers would be 4 and 2. That's the mindset you have to be good at factoring. So it's something that you can practice. So basically what you need is you're going to be given a trinomial with only a 1 in front, 1x squared plus, say, 2x plus 3 or something like that. And you want two things that multiply to the c term that add to the b. Two things that multiply to the c that add to b. So first example, x squared plus 8x plus 15. Notice it's 1x squared. That's why we can use this method. And then, so the 8x and 15. So I need it to multiply to 15 and add to the 8. Two numbers that multiply to 15 that add to 8. Well, 3 and 5. 3 and 5 are the two numbers. So then you write that as x plus 3 times x plus 5. It's two binomials that multiply to get to the trinomial. So here's a few more examples. M squared plus 10m plus 16. So I need two things that multiply to 16 that add to 10. So just think of all the numbers that multiply to 16. It could be 4 and 4. Well, that doesn't add to 10. It could be 8 times 2. And there it is. We already have it. So it's m plus 2 and m plus 8. Now with the negatives in here, it gets a little bit more tricky. I need two numbers that multiply to negative 48. That means that one of the numbers is going to have to be negative. So you could do 6 and 8. You could have 4 and 12. And I need one of these to be negative so that it adds to negative 8. Well, this has a difference of 8. That's good. And one of them is negative, so it adds to negative 8. Well, the 12 would have to be bigger then if it's keeping the negative. So it's 4 and negative 12. So notice the answer. N plus 4 and n minus 12. The order that you write them in does not matter, but it's multiplication because it's FOIL. That will get you back to the trinomial. Okay, two things that multiply to 56. Well, 7 and 8. That could be one. But they have to add to negative 15, so that means that these would both have to be negative. Two things that multiply to a positive and add to a negative, well, both would have to be negative. So negative 7 plus negative 8 is negative 15. So that works. So it's y minus 8, y negative 8, and y negative 7. Okay, and then for the last one, we need two things that multiply to negative 20 that add to a positive. So one of them is going to have to be negative. So my options are 2 and 10. Well, that doesn't have a difference of 1. 4 and 5, that works. But it has to add to positive 1. So the positive number has to be bigger. So it's negative 4 and 5. And if you look at the answer, it's p negative 4, p minus 4, and p plus 5. So that's our answer right there. You do FOIL and you'll get back to the original problem. So here I need two things that multiply to 10 but add to 7. So if you list all the factors of 10, 1 and 10, 2 and 5, that's it. This is the one that adds to 7. So my answer is going to be x plus 2, x plus 5, or x plus 5, x plus 2, it doesn't matter. Okay, next one, we need two things that multiply to 7. Well, the only two things that multiply to 7 are 1 and 7, but they need to add to negative 8. If they have to multiply to a positive, they're either both positive or they're both negative. And so this works. Negative 1 and negative 7 adds to negative 8. So it'll be x minus 1, x minus 7. And again, do FOIL, you'll get back to the original answer. Here's your next one. Notice all of these have an a of equal to 1, meaning the number in front of x squared is just 1. Why can't I make this bigger? Here we go. Okay, two things that multiply to c the negative 15 that add to 2. So all my things that multiply negative 15. Well, one of them is going to have to be negative. So it could be negative 3 and 5, or it could be 5 and negative 3. It could be 15 and 1, 15 negative 1, or negative 15, 1. So we need one of these to add to positive 2, but it's this one right here, 5 and negative 3. So that means x plus 5 and x minus 3. Next one, two things that multiply to negative 20. Well, one of them is going to have to be negative. So it could be negative 1 and 20, or 1 and negative 20. It could be 2 and negative 10, or negative 10 and 2. And it's, oops, that's the same thing. Just kidding. It could be negative 2 and 10. But it's actually this one right here. It's 2 and negative 10 add to negative 8. So it's x plus 2, x minus 10. Okay, we need two things that multiply to negative 24 that add to negative 5. So two things that multiply to negative 24. One of them is going to have to be negative. So it could be negative 8 and 3. It could be 8 and negative 3. It could be 1 and negative 24, or negative 1 and 24, etc. We could list all of these out, but I already found it. It was actually my first one. Negative 8 and 3. So it's going to be x minus 8, x plus 3.